Everything you know has now been changed. The gods have left Earth, but were not forgotten. Much of their glory, battles, and defeat were now only in scriptures and songs that sound so sweet. Their disappearance became one with the past. They became myths and legends so very fast. That's until the most unlikely would try to not only become a goddess herself, but to prove to the worlds and the gods of the old that in 100 days, she could survive. This is Kitty's story. You see, Kitty had found herself in a very strange place. I think it was somewhere called Fjordur. And not only that, there seemed to be strange, very strange creatures about too. They looked as though they had been sent down from Gaia and the gods themselves. But to find out if they were friend or foe was the least of Kitty's concerns at the moment, as she had gotten herself distracted. Realizing that may have been a silly wish, she began getting some of her frustration out on a tree. She was cold and hungry too, but was starting to feel at ease, as the locals were showing her a somewhat warm welcome. How cute. Well, maybe that wasn't a safe spot. So Kitty tried again, and again, and again, and again.
What the?
She couldn't even trust the dodo she thought she once knew.
You're bad.
Now night had fallen, and she still had no luck.
Run. Oh god. I just started making.
But as the sun was once again kissing the land, and with Kitty no longer knowing what surviving actually meant to her,
What's gonna happen?
she had an epiphany. If nowhere was safe, maybe this was not where she was meant to reside. Maybe the gods had a different plan for her, so she headed for Asgard. And as she looked up, Kitty knew she had made the right decision.
Oh, it's a unicorn! Oh, I love you!
She was applying to be the goddess of unicorns and magic, after all. Landing in this yellowish land, Kitty felt a sense of peace. A sense almost like this is where she in fact did belong, if only she wasn't so clumsy. Cautiously, she gandered around, trying to find the one sweet spot to call home. And if you know anything about Kitty, she likes to build high. It makes her feel safer. This rock shall do, Kitty thought. Finally, she got to work. Pick, check.
Bum bum.
Hatchet, check. Normal pick to actually get flint,
I need flint.
check. And finally, getting her first foundation down, she was now officially home.
My home. Nobody touch it.
Situated and safe, it was time to level up, and what better way than to craft some of her own chibis? Not because she was vain, oh no, but because they gave really good points, and are kinda cute too. Kitty also realized that those purple dinos seemed to be safe.
You safe? Or you just stuck? You can stay there if you want. I think safe. The purple raptors are safe.
Or so she thought. She spent pretty much the rest of the day grinding as a survivor should, as well as getting some much needed clothes.
The second day. Ooh, yeah.
After crafting a mighty bow and some arrows, it was time to go on another adventure. Well, at least attempt to maybe find some hide. She bravely scurried to a nearby place where maybe, just maybe, she could get some scraps.
Oh. Maybe you'll get distracted by something else?
But unfortunately, Kitty turned out to be the one who was dinner.
I just wanted a bed.
Scoping out her place of rest, there seemed to be no more immediate danger, and she couldn't possibly make any enemies from up here with her extremely bad aim. So as the sun rose on another beautiful day, she begrudgingly went to gather her belongings. Now the mission for hide, meat, and a bed became the only thing on Kitty's mind. It overcame everything else and made her do things she normally wouldn't do. Just a poor Anki minding his own business, but to Kitty, he was an easy target. Completely down, Kitty collected her prize and was finally able to place her very own bed. She made herself some food and spent the rest of the day gathering to resurrect her very own magical home. Made all by herself, clearly. Why, yes, this is the masterpiece, she thought to herself. And with that, Kitty placed her brand new forge, smithy, and got to work with some upgraded tools. A tad bit later, she was placing what looked as though a pretty statue to decorate with, yet she could hear voices whispering.
Cat Purr of Fjordur, I presume? Welcome to Asgard. I am Gaia, mother of all elements, creatures, and beyond. Us gods have heard of a rumor that you yourself would like to be one of us. A goddess of unicorns and magic? Ah, yes. I do see there has recently been an opening for this position. Well, it won't be easy to prove your worthiness, but if you do, the glory shall be limitless. To win my vote in the council, you must challenge all guardians of the land and defeat every single boss all Gaia have created. If you do this, my dear young child, you shall have my blessing.
And with that, silence. Kitty didn't even get a chance to talk. That sure was strange, yet she now knew what to do. But curiosity had struck, and she placed yet another statue she had earlier presumed to be a decoration.
It is I, Artemis. And you. Yes, you must be Kitty. You know, I've been hearing a lot about you, wanting to become goddess and all. Well, since I'm a goddess myself, I know all too much on how much it's worth. To win my hand, I'll make it easier on you. Tame a pair of dinos that your eyes have yet to become accustomed to. Really tame as many as you can. The more the merrier, I say. And then hunt with them under the moonlight. Do this, and I shall watch keenly over you as long as those silly men are trying to distract my virtue.
Kitty now took this as a blessing to search for her first tame. She would need a better bow, and getting ever so distracted, I think she forgot what she was doing. She crafted yet another statue. Clearly, her missions weren't already piling up.
Who calls upon me today of all days? Ah, Kitty, mere little Kitty. What a pleasure to greet your acquaintance. I see you have been admiring us gods, or should I say us goddesses these past few days. What is it? What shall I do with you? You do know who I am, don't you? Well, just in case you don't, I am Demeter, and you want to rule all the magic, don't you? Well, in order for me to give you my blessing, dear mortal, you must give life to every seed that can bless these lands, and be sure not to forget the tree of life. If you can do that, I will accept you and care for you. That is not too hard, is it?
Every seed in all of Fjordur? Surely Kitty didn't stand a chance, but she would give it the best she could. Kitty then crafted and attached a generator that powered Demeter's terminal, only to realize that it needed fuel she did not know quite how to get just yet. And that's when Kitty began to build herself some traps, and of course take a breath of fresh air under the beautifully lit night sky. Now it was time to get a tame. Oh, the fun they would have. Kitty ran across the landscape in search of her new bestie. She peered down into the valley at all things that were shiny and new to her eyes. How the heck was she going to do this? All this chaos, but surely she could get just one creature. Maybe not like that. How about this, Kitty? I said, how about this? That's when she figured it out. Everything she knew about Ark would have to be thrown out the window. What about one of these purple guys? They were safe, right? Maybe she could trap one of them. With that, she decided to go for something a little less complicated. A big, strong inky should do. If only she knew how to get divine souls to ride it. Once awake, she deemed her precious creature Nevaeh, brought her home, and Kitty now had a thirst for more. She attempted on an RG, but quickly changed her mind. Then she considered this demorph. But clearly, it was not bestie material. The gods were not making this easy on her, but she was not going to let any storm keep her from progressing. So with utter will and determination, she got yet another Inky. Growing tired of waiting on her sleeping beauty, Kitty became proactive and guided the one thing she never thought she would tame, but knew she really should tame it today. Once Scorpio awoke, he crawled with her back to her base, and she spent the rest of the day protecting Stanky. Stanky and Nevaeh wasted no time making little critters of their own, and Kitty had an inkling that maybe she should stock up on creatures. If the gods will it, then it shall be so. Hatching her first baby, she named him Precious. Soon, She had baby too, Blue. Kitty waited for them to grow and heal. Meanwhile, she went on a hunt. And got her first kill. Still tired of waiting, she went out for another useful creature. Don't ask me why she was trying to trap it, folks. Your guess is as good as mine. Finally coming to her senses, she almost got the little ball of joy tranked out, but to no avail. So she tried to kill an Anki again instead. Keyword, tried. Finally getting her frenemy down, she gathered enough resources to saddle Scorpio and take him for a little teeny ride, as well as finishing up her task of getting her very own brand new dolly. And with that, and the gods blessing her day, Kitty decided to finish with some very much needed grinding. This wasn't even a sliver of what the grind coming would be like. Early morning came and Kitty headed out with the crew. Surely she could survive this little adventure. All she wanted was to have a peek around. Was that so much to ask?
Oh no, he killed my Anki!
Clearly it was. With only Scorpio, her solo steed, Kitty in her very right mind attempted to get a divine snow owl and added it to the list of very bad, silly ideas. Heading home with her tail between her legs and Scorpio almost dead, Kitty decided to do what she does best and build herself up. Because the key to her adventures was just beyond this little cliff. A Maywing, of course. She got this little honey bunches of oats trapped and shoved berries up its butt, and she waited. But quickly did Kitty realize what a huge mistake she had made, as all these purple, safe dinos around weren't really safe when it came to being a tame. The minute this fluffer woke up, they would aggro from a mile away. Kitty thought, and thought, and thought some more. Finally, the cutie woke up and all Kitty could think of to do was run. But was she fast enough? Unfortunately not. The gods did not want her to have a sweet Maywing yet.
All the purple things are after my teams. I hate this game. Oh, they found my house. No!
And as if that wasn't punishment enough,
No!
they took all her other tames too.
There's the camera.
Except Dolly. Dolly prevailed. Kitty was now pretty much back at square one. Now infuriated, she had to do something. She ran outside and equipped her bow. This capro was in for a little surprise of its own. She shot her arrow and ran, thinking she was done for. But to her surprise, this capro did not come for her. She shot again, just to be sure. Still nothing. This revenge was going to be simple, or so she thought. After hundreds of arrows and a teeny tiny problem just beyond the horizon, Kitty still persisted. Her anger was unfathomable. But why won't this creature just die? Finally, she gave up when she realized that she had not one, but two problems on either side of her mountain. If only she could tame one of those beautiful creatures. She daydreamed in safety. Contemplating life, Kitty decided she needed a change of scenery. Landing in this familiar yet dangerous place, Kitty took a glimpse around. Maybe, just maybe, she could find herself a new friend. As this beachside had slim pickings, she headed over to the redwoods, but that was probably not a great idea. Heading now to the border of the chilly snow, Kitty noticed a gift coming down from the heavens. And while if the gods knew Kitty, like the rest of us, she really couldn't resist a prezi. Terrified, she waited, and when it dropped, she opened it carefully and gleefully took these beautiful gifts from the gods themselves. Knowing she could potentially lose everything in an instant, Kitty quickly transported back home to drop off what was rightfully hers. Back on the beach, she landed on this beautiful blue dodo. She just knew she had to take her chances. The battle was intense and Kitty was sure she was going to lose her life. But in the end, battling this bundle of joy was worth it. So much so, she went to challenge another. Only to realize that she could have kept the peace all along. With now two mighty beings, Kitty rushed home to show Dolly. Upon arriving, she realized that the dodos were exactly what she needed to fill the generator on Demeter. Now it seemed the gods were guiding her in just the right direction. With no time to waste, Kitty worked until dawn, making sure her and her new family were protected. She then tested her magical dodo and asked it to create her a powerful egg. She put it in Demeter's generator, and it was now fueled. What a beautiful sight. Her first order of business, a saddle for her new little buddy, and a Gaia farm, as she had heard rumors that this little farm would provide her with an abundance of resources. She placed the farm and relished in its glory, knowing that she would have to be patient to see exactly what it would produce. That's when a piggy appeared. So she, poked it. Was she supposed to tame it? Surely not kill it. It was just a baby. She didn't have the heart to do that, so she just left it. Checking back on the farm, she realized it produced many wonderful things. Happily, she rushed over to try the one thing she had been longing for, but before mounting her noble steed. As what is a steed without a noble name? Didi was saddled, and Didi was also named. Kitty mounted her trusty companion and hopped along gleefully. She wasn't sure if the dodo was meant to actually do anything. So to keep her safe, Kitty took her companion home rather quickly. Deciding to be courageous, Kitty went to see what was beyond the cliff, just slightly away from her base. All these beautiful new creatures she admired near and from afar. Her adventure would take her to many jaw-dropping sights. That's when she found homes. Empty homes, as if it was a kingdom meant for her own. Wouldn't that be grand, she pondered. And with that, she ended up taking the good old-fashioned route back home. Kitty awoke the next morning with determination and newfound hope. She had heard the gods at work that night, destroying every single one of the safe dinos that had surrounded her base. Now she needn't worry so much of the safety of her dinos from those pesky creatures. The gods seemed to be on her side. She was so thrilled she even contemplated taming that beast, but decided the odds were definitely not in her favor. With new hope, she ran across the fields and water to find once again her new kingdom. She placed a gate claiming the land of her own, and very smartly she created a lookout to gaze downwards on her vast lands. That's when she heard a knock at her door. Who could it be? Kitty thought she was the only mortal here. She opened her large gate. Could it really be? Her good friend Skate had found her. She really wasn't alone. Finding out Skate had been deemed warrior of the gods to protect all those who may try to cross over from the realms of mortality to the realms of the heavens, which in this case meant slightly helping Kitty in her endeavors, as well as keeping an eye on her to report back on any mischievous or lack thereof she may be causing. And today his duties also included being her barber. Now freshly cut, Skate also gave her a resource she had been struggling to get, as needing a spyglass was becoming of the utmost importance if Kitty wanted to tame anything other than a dodo. Kitty knew one day she would pay Skate back, and she was so very grateful to have him by her side. But for now, she got to work. She placed herself a bed in her comfy lair and aimed at one of the mammoths roaming her land. With no difficulty at all, she got him down, and while she waited, she went after a pretty blue one too. But then quickly got distracted by a Maywing. All was right in her world. For now, in need of materials for a saddle, Kitty took a quick trek and trip back to her old base. She then tried to learn how to use her Maywing, Snickerdoodle. And went for a big blue once again. Running out of arrows, she bravely went for a poke. And no matter how many times she tried, she would make him hers. Actually, Kitty realized she might have a slight dilemma, and it was right by her belongings. So she courageously coaxed him away to make the area safe once again. But at that moment, Kitty thought maybe the Giga wasn't so bad to have around, after all. She now had no idea what to do. Why would the gods do this to her? Everything was going so well. She secured Snickerdoodle and also the mammoth who somehow had survived that battle, and while she cleaned up the mess from the wyvern, who thankfully disappeared, her patience and strength were being tested yet again. Maybe if she ignores it shall leave her alone, Kitty thought as she continued cleaning, and that it did. Kitty was now able to retrieve her stuff from earlier, and in the wee hours of the morning she went to gaze at the wonders of the river close by, including this giant otter that was dancing about. Kitty clearly couldn't see past this glory. Maybe it was better to admire from afar, but then Kitty had a really great idea. As a half-tranked Argy is clearly a gift that she couldn't pass up. She tried her luck and, well, now had an angry bird inside her house. But she gave up on that task rather quickly. And with that, Kitty began the very grueling and excruciating long task of moving her stuff from her old base to new. And sprucing the place up too. Now that Kitty had set up and dressed up, she went to go check on a Thyla that had graced her lands with its presence. She sneakily crept up to it and thought of how magical it would be to have this cat, but maybe later. First she would need a snack and to continue decorating. As Kitty was more than situated, she carefully placed her next statue.
Who dares speak to me, even utter my name? Say it, child, don't be scared. That's right. Oh my, look at you, so small, so light and so fragile. You must be Kitty Cat. Yes, you've been trying to become one like us. That's really impossible for someone like you. Do as you will, but the only chance of getting even close to a vote from me is by accomplishing this. Find yourself a decaying creature you've seen them, right? And put their poor soul out of its misery. Don't let it suffer the pain of living its short, useless life. Do this, and who knows, maybe I'll undo the curse on you.
And with that, silence. Kitty shakingly wanted to lose the feeling of existential dread she just got from that encounter. So with high hopes, she placed one more. Surely, the King of Kings would have something encouraging to say.
Such beauty. I've been gazing down upon you since I first heard we could have a new goddess to play. Join us here in the heavens. You know, I could show you what magic truly is. If given the chance, of course, my dear Kitty. You have experiences you never even dared to dream. If I had my say, just a glance at you would be my vote. But unfortunately, it's not just up to me now, is it? So hear this. Obtain yourself a mighty flyer or glider of the skies. Maybe something a little more sturdy than your Maywing there. And with that, you will win my hand. And, well, maybe a little more.
Kitty wasn't sure exactly what she expected from Zeus, but, well, now she had some more missions. Getting a mighty glider or flyer sure tickled her fancy, but for now she needed to make more progress. With a few final touches left to place, Kitty finally had a kingdom that she had only ever dreamed of, and looking down on all the beautiful creatures, she realized she was going to need something helpful. So once again, she went for a spiky boy. As well as doing some much-needed gathering while she waited. Finally, her beloved turkey was all set to be part of the pack, and as such, she took him for a quick little test. There wasn't much metal around, but she knew he would accomplish great things. With a tickle for more tames, quite possibly some with teeth, Kitty headed down to the river. While attempting a duel with a piranha, she saw a raptor. Maybe with her invisibility, she could claim him as her prize. Never hurts to try. She hesitated as she soldiered down to the bank. If she could get one shot in, that is. Finally, she hit him. And he definitely knew it was her. Although he seemed to meet his maker with an RG. Now determined, Kitty had her eye on this Ravager. If it could just stay distracted long enough, maybe it wouldn't even notice the arrows penetrating its skin. But with something that ambitious, no matter how quick Kitty was with her shot, it lost an inevitable battle. Defeated, Kitty looked for something, anything, and after gathering much more narcoberries, she settled on a blue shiny mammoth.
I apologize for the fright. I know I may seem strong and menacing, but I, Hephaestus, would never hurt a kind soul such as yours. It is Kitty, correct? How wonderful to finally speak with you. I've pondered long and hard on a task suitable to gain my seal of approval. Continue in your kind ways, and your task will be that much easier. I request that you travel to the mines deep in the hills, a place named Moria. Here you will find tools to aid you, along with a little reminder of what you are trying to reach, and be sure to construct a stronger forge. A Gaia forge should do. This journey will be long, especially with those making your challenge that much harder, but with a strong will and spirit such as yours, I know you can do it.
Kitty thought about how nice Hephaestus sounded. A very familiar voice, too. She immediately placed a forge in his honor. It's the least she could do, and something she could scratch off her list, too. She then went on a search for crystal, but no matter how hard she looked, she just could not seem to find any. Terrified she'd lose her only mode of quick transport, she swiftly made it back home. And boy, was she glad she came home when she did, as there were now 2 kitties on her doorstep. She knew exactly what she must do. With magic such as invisibility that the gods graced her with, she could take advantage of this situation. Quietly, she built her trap. She then got on her perch and carefully and gracefully knocked the Thyla out. That is completely how she intended to use her trap, of course.
This better be of utmost importance! Why am I bothering with you, Earthling? This is not the time. You call upon Ares and ask for such a measly, minuscule task. That is, of course, beneath me. But if you must, it shall be known that I do so beyond my own will. I have better things to attend to. Kitty, we, the gods, have spoken about you, and a vote from myself will come from your sorrow. Sacrifice one of your own with your own hands, and in return, not only will you gain my honor, respect, and of course my vote, but I shall be a righteous god and grant you access to my scanner. That surely will help you along your journey. Yes. How kind am I, aren't I? Now, be gone, as I have real matters to attend to.
Kitty really needed to stop calling to the gods so early in the mornings. Maybe one day she'll learn. To cheer herself up, she awoke Atita, and this cat gained her trust instantly, now having something that could protect her. Kitty could travel far and wide without much of a worry. First order of business, crystal. But of course, Kitty forgot the most important of tools. But what she did get would do. Kitty and Gatita climbed mountaintops high, frolicked in valleys low, and battled creatures that were 2 out of her league before. Gatita was the best companion, and Kitty was overjoyed. But being so late to getting her battle cat, it was now time to collect some very special materials with a pickaxe crafted in Hephaestus himself. And of course, as a little treat, she attempted to get this little bulldog, only for him to disappear into thin air. Apparently, one of the gods was playing a practical joke at her expense.
Good
goodness you didn't put me in the same room as Zeus. I just cannot fathom being in the same vicinity as him right now, even in spirit. Kitty, be sure not to fall for his fawning when you come here to the heavens. Stay away and give me your oath, not only by word, but by getting yourself at least one mutation and breeding, and finding yourself a very special bunny. I, Hera, promise to nominate you to join us goddesses here in this paradise, but you've been warned. Stay away from my husband, or else.
Kitty still hadn't learned her lesson. Now, more than ever, she needed to get a head start on some of her missions. So she attempted her first try at gardening, but these Gaia crop plots were not working as well as she had hoped. She would need to figure them out at another time. She then took Turkey and Gatita on a stroll close to the old base for some much-needed metal, and on the way home found herself a beautiful moss chops, which she used for more gathering, and then christened Mossy. With another failed attempt at getting something that could fly, Kitty multitasked with a friendly raptor nearby and a magical otter in the river bend. Aggroing every creature around, Kitty's dream soon became a nightmare as she accidentally tore into her favorite creature. Picking up an offering from the gods, they seemed to have been enjoying sending Kitty numerous challenges, but every one she defeated with ease. Later, she recalled the friendly raptor she was taming and gave him a very fitting ghostly name. And any easy tame is clearly a great tame for Kitty, so she couldn't resist one more friendly raptor, who donned the name Cassie. Later, Kitty was politely invited over to Skate's abode, not only to have a look around, but also to give her yet another gift. He clearly had talent not only as a warrior, but as a decorator builder as well. And while they were conversing, Skate was able to show his warrior skills off, as there was a wyvern closing in. The place he had chosen was befitting for his status, as there was dangers everywhere. Or was it the gods using him for a show? This danger was a little too much for Kitty, so she decided to transport home while Skate was preoccupied with the manticore. Back in her comfort zone, Kitty equipped her new toy. This would surely be a game changer, but now knowing that Kitty had leveled up some, the gods were determined to make it even more difficult for her. With a Spino and a Dreadful Rex right outside, Kitty unhesitantly targeted for at least one, and her luck was unfaltering as she easily got the Spino down. Thinking she couldn't be matched, she headed for the Rex, but almost as though she could hear laughter from the skies, a wyvern spawned right in front of her eyes. And that was something Kitty couldn't go against quite yet. So she went for something way more fierce instead. Meet Clifford and Fruit Loop the Spino, as well as Vert and Azul the Snow Owls. Today, Kitty was unstoppable. With new energy, Kitty felt as though nothing could bring her down. She found another bulldog that this time would be hers, and she really did need something else as a shoulder companion, since Clifford was a bit more vocal than she had bargained for. While taming an unexplainable light came from the heavens, and to this day can only be presumed that the gods or Skate were up to no good. Kitty carefully stored Clifford and gave Tweedledee the newly opened spot on her shoulder. A very perfect, quiet fit indeed. With that, Kitty set out, as she had seen a gacha long ago that she was eager to tame. If only she hadn't forgotten a very important piece to this taming puzzle, realizing it probably would be quicker to run home and grab some pellets. So that's exactly what she did, only to find upon returning, her gacha was nowhere to be found. Searching and searching, Kitty finally saw him down the valley. She jumped down, not thinking of anything else, and surely not about how this was a trap she absentmindedly just walked into. Forgetting of the raptor's pounce, she headed into fight. Her only thought to clear the area of danger. But now Kitty was in danger. She rushed back with Alpha Snickerdoodle, hoping the gods would spare Gatita for her stupidity. Finally arriving, Gatita had only one enemy left. Kitty hesitated with her Maywing, but was very unsure if Gatita could win this on her own. Triumphantly, Kitty put her Maywing away and brought Gatita to safety. Her heart couldn't handle this bloody day. Now partially healed, Kitty wanted to try just one more time. Maybe the gods were testing her patience, but little did they know she had plenty. And that Gaia, now named Christmas, was rightfully hers. On her journey home, she also caught herself a tapia hare, just to have one, which got her to thinking, where was Tweedledee?
My, oh my, is this the kitty cat Lepur everyone has been speaking of? How precious. You've been working hard, I see. You do know you have quite the adventure ahead of you, right? Nevertheless, I have faith you shall complete all the tasks assigned to you. If I, Athena, may give you some of my wisdom, keep your head high no matter what we throw at you. You see, to be a goddess, it isn't easy. Even after you make it in, you're faced with hard decisions daily. It isn't always fun and games, like perhaps the others have made it seem. Upon saying that, here is my quest for you. You must fight. Fight to the death with the warrior that was assigned to care for you. He will teach and treat you well, but to win, his teachings will ultimately be buried with him.
Now that was a despairing interaction that Kitty definitely didn't want to think about. Surely there could be a workaround, some sort of loophole. She couldn't kill Skate. Not only was he her assigned warrior, he was her friend. Kitty placed down some ruins that were meant to protect her from harm and grievingly scoped out a wyvern close by. She still needed something worthy enough for the skies. He flew fast and she followed him to the river. But really, this was just wishful thinking on her behalf. Giving up on that thought, she completed some tasks at base and meditated to the one god she knew was nice enough to listen and guide her. Still heartbroken, Kitty went to get Stone, as there was only one thing that would make her feel slightly better: collecting gacha crystals. Not the greatest of prezzies today, but it did slightly improve her mood. Kitty couldn't stand being at home, so she grabbed Vert to see what glories they could find together on the mainland. They swooped and glided, having a grand old time and eventually finding an owl mate, Greenie. Even for just this moment, Kitty had forgotten all of her woes. That's until she was minding her own business in a little pond, trying to get an otter once again, when she was getting shot at. Not finding anything strange, she went back to the task at hand. And for some reason, it was proving impossible just to get one rideable otter. Thankfully, there was a little one that she promptly tamed and named Spirit. Quickly realizing that it was Skate close by, he was playing pranks on her. This reminded Kitty of her anguish once again. Does she tell him? What if he already knows? She decided to keep it to herself for now. Cherishing this time was a better use than dwelling on it. Kitty then went in search of eggs for easy tame, but was getting easily distracted by the gifts from the gods. And with all the stranger dangers about, maybe that was a simpler task. But today, Kitty would receive no gifts. She headed back and retrieved her owl, her things, and wanted nothing more than to be back in Asgard, especially after she realized she had also lost her otter. She really couldn't have nice things. On the way home, Kitty noticed a potential problem, so she did the only thing she could think of for it to go away. With that out of the way, she set up shop in order for her beautiful birds to start making some babies, then went off to get some crystal and attempted to get a griffin, but grew tired of that rather quickly. She did some fighting and some goodie collecting, and not one bag would go unturned under Kitty's watch. And she also couldn't say no to an Argy that landed right on her front door. Devi would now be an important bird to the family. Most likely to never be used, but important nonetheless. Kitty was able to set down her first ever teleporter, but quickly realized she would need more electronics for the handheld one, so she went on the hunt for some tech creatures. She searched and searched, to no avail, eventually leading her to this great purple forest. It was so calm and tranquil, nothing to worry about here except for some bugs. That's when she saw him. Barney from heaven. She had to have him. She ignored everything that was going on around her. Only until she realized what exactly it was. Then thinking about it, she wondered to herself, what if you could tame it differently? What if this could be her first shadow mane? But she unfortunately never got to find out. Back to Barney, Kitty finally got him down and went to kill time by going to fight some of the locals, only to catch a fright. Deciding to go back to safety, she did the one thing you should never do in berry country. Frantically, she rushed back in search of her body and Gatita, and it was a sad sight to see. Gatita kept getting shocked and couldn't fight back. Kitty did not know what to do, but there was no way she was going to lose Gatita. Not today. Not like this. She tried to distract him, and before she met her death, she could see Gatita swimming to land. Going back once again, Kitty grabbed her Barney and finally found her grave. Terrified, she checked on Gatita. Kitty really needs to be more careful. It was probably time to get out of there. Of course, cheering herself up with some more crystals as soon as she got home.
It is I, Poseidon, and you, my precious, have called upon me. Oh, I may get some amusement out of you. Surely you vulnerable little being have so much to prove to us gods. Wanting to join us is quite a feat. Now the question is, do I give you an easy task to win my vote? Or shall I make it difficult on you? I'm feeling gracious today, so I will make it easy on you. But know this, you will owe me greatly once here in the heavens. My task, sweet kitty. Tame one creature that can be ridden in my oceans, and have a place that you can live safely in the water. A raft, perhaps, as you never know when you bring me solstice off of the land or from my oceans. Do this, and you may just win my favor.
Kitty thought about it. She technically already had a water creature, so now she just needed to actually step foot in the ocean. That, hopefully, would be simple. Speaking of missions, she really needed to get a move on. She began by making her farm slightly better than it was, and planting as many seeds as she had on hand, as well as placing some crucial Gaia resource makers that would help her along the way.
Do you call upon me to relish in Aphrodite's beauty? Or listen to the many great stories I have to tell? Stories of love, desire, lust, or perhaps of the greatest conquests. Oh, young kitty, we have much to learn on what it is to be a goddess such as I. I do know you are attempting to be like me, or should I say us. I will give you the most fulfilling of tasks, and perhaps the toughest. I do love a challenge and story of conquest. You shall get my vote to join us, only if you make every other god and goddess fall in love with you. Make them vote you in. Make them whisper of your glory, even as a mortal, and you shall gain my admiration and love.
Now that was going to be difficult, perhaps even more so than any other mission Kitty had received. Kitty continued placing essential Gaia resource farms, only to realize she was going to need a lot more resources of the regular kind, including rare flowers. So it was time to go for a search. She knew she had seen at least one somewhere, but now there were none in sight. Finally, Kitty spotted a couple, but they weren't quite what she was looking for, as the divine megalotrons you could actually knock out, as opposed to the other annoying way. Finding one, she quickly realized that this was indeed going to be a deadly task. Searching some more, she wondered if perhaps the alphas were different to tame as well. It would never hurt to try, if only they could stay alive long enough to test her theory out. Kitty went back to the first place she spotted them, and waited patiently for them to meander themselves to the shore. First, she would need to get rid of at least one. Maybe then more would spawn. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and Kitty was rather impatient, so she went to gather some plant species Y seeds for her garden instead. How exhilarating. Kitty then went to get more rocks for her gacha, when she heard a strange yet familiar sound. A rock drake, as clear as day. She quickly rolled out of there. She wasn't sure of her options, so she ran and fought. And ran some more. Finally, in the safety of her gates, she took a deep breath and thought for a second. Of course, the first and only thought that came to her mind was to tame it. clearly forgetting they in fact could climb. This rock drake was now in the safety of her gates. Getting him down and her barely alive, she had to now figure out how to make him hers. And quickly, as his torpor was running out, she heard whispers that said, "Tame it like a Spino." And so she grabbed what little meat she had, and narco berries too, and pumped him full of these little treats. But he wasn't eating. She went and grabbed some kibble that only the gods knew where she actually got them from. Not knowing which one would do, she threw them all in. Still nothing. She tried cooked prime meat. She didn't know what she was doing wrong. Surely the gods were up to something. He awoke as if this were some sick joke. But Kitty was not going to give up so easily. Leaving her bed, she realized he may be strong, but not very smart. She quickly grabbed her things and thought of a plan. "What you gonna do now, stupid?" He threw a tantrum while she shot at him. Out again. Maybe he would eat this time. She had to be quick and smart. Maybe there was some sort of taming elixir, which there was. So quickly it got learned. Now she needed time to make it, since he ate all of her narco berries. She ran to the gates and threw out her mammoth. In a rush, she tried to get as many berries as she could. Now he was up again. Still dumb though. Whichever god this was either having a lot of fun or trying to teach her to think outside the box. Probably both. He finally slept again and she crafted the elixir. But would it be done in time? Kitty was shaking. She watched intently. Don't wake up. Don't wake up. Finally, he was hers. And no better name would fit other than Rosa. But Kitty was not quite ready to ride this majestic creature, so now she would have to go out and level up. And that's exactly what she did, all day and night, fighting with Gatita under the moonlight. While out, Kitty caught a glimpse of yet another rock drake and knew what had to be done. She hopped it home and knocked it out while it was snacking on her tames. Rather quickly, she was able to claim him, but the gods either wanted to destroy Kitty's progress or give her a gift. Contemplating her options, she went for her only viable one. Afterwards, cleaning up the mess of critters to see exactly what damage had been done. Kitty finally was able to saddle up her majestic rock drake, and now that she had two, she knew exactly what to do. Make babies, of course. The rest of her day was spent getting narco berries and tending to her little garden, which was coming along rather nicely. Amongst copious amounts of grinding, Kitty did find the time to make herself some taming potions and place yet another statue.
It is I, Hermes, and who dares call upon thee? Ah, yes, Kitty, dear Kitty. Watching you from here in the heavens have been somewhat of a substantial pastime. I do enjoy your triumphs, to say the least. You have been enjoying my gifts, haven't you? I do hope I get to meet you as a goddess. We could have a lot of fun playing with these mere mortals. To earn my word in the council, how about you find yourself a homestead, a kingdom, if you will, where you get to spend the rest of your days claiming it as your own. Oh, wait. Have you already done this? Of course you have. Well, then there you have it. You have my vote now, don't you? Now run along and complete your other tasks. I'm in favor of having someone new to entertain myself with. Ta-ta!
He made that a little too easy, Kitty thought. She then wondered what gifts he meant. Sensing it was probably too good to be true, Kitty decided to be on the lookout for any obstacles that were out of the ordinary. Feeling somewhat playful herself, Kitty realized she could make Gatita a kitten on her shoulder. And then she went about her merry day. But let's not talk about how she almost lost Gatita again. Kitty finally took Rosa out for a spin. Doing what? Your guess is as good as mine. Perhaps looking for more electronics from tech creatures, or perhaps another tame. But all that didn't matter, as Kitty was having the time of her life. Whilst in a dreamy red forest, she had spotted some gachas that Skate had asked her to keep an eye out for. Excited that she could help, she quickly tried to contact him. And in that exact moment, a reaper just fell right on top of her. What a pleasant surprise. There was only one thing she could do with this underground dweller. Eventually, knocking him out, she waited with pride. She was in the big leagues now, with her very first Reaper. Tamed unconventionally, but hers all the same. She almost felt pro, if you will. Remy was now her new pride and joy, who would probably just stay as a keepsake in her pocket for safekeeping. And for Kitty, the grind continued. Taking a quick break, she did find these summoners inside of Zeus. Little did she know how significant these tame drinks would impact her, but more on that later. For now, Kitty needed so many resources and souls, she didn't give it a second thought. Meanwhile, getting infamously distracted by yet another otter, Kitty had to do a quick double take on a gift from the gods. A megalodon here on her river. The gods were being so kind today. She loaded up what trank she could get and patiently waited for an ally to come aid her in this very large tame. Just like old times. After a very, very long trank session, they got this turtle down, and Kitty celebrated with prezzies, as she felt she deserved them after all that hard work. Which somehow got Kitty to remembering she in fact had a couple extra taming elixirs, so she promptly and awkwardly fed one to Michelangelo.
Ow! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No! He's hitting my stupid turtle. Hey.
Dude, I don't know what I can do without accidentally hitting you.
I don't care, hit me. I can die. It's fine. Don't hit Gatita though.
He was now placed in the community storage where she and Skate could share his riches, and they would have one less worry needing to find the resources that he could produce. Now it was time to collect yet even more souls, without too many distractions, hopefully. And that's when she saw her.
Well, there's another rock drake.
A level 204 rock drake. This was the only thing Kitty needed in her life.
Wait, don't leave me yet. Danger, I'm not safe.
Oh, he did not stay in. He did not stay in.
With a failed net and trap attempt, Kitty persisted. And the gods were not letting her have this one easy at all. Yet she prevailed, and would now have a mighty strong, high-leveled soldier of the skies. Now to make real strong babies. Which meant Kitty needed a fabricator and air conditioners to hatch her little cutie patootie. She also realized that her newly placed Poseidon farm produced water creatures, in which she could tame some. But Kitty never learned that curiosity isn't really her strong suit.
Yeah. Dummy.
After all that kerfuffle, Kitty headed over to the mainland for a change of pace.
Oh my god, fly! Oh shit. Oh, something just blew up.
Right away, seeing her dream dino basking in the water.
Oh shit, they can get up! Oh no, my bird! Oh no, it's so passive!
She failed at attempting to claim it as her own, and thought she was very smart by grabbing a shield elixir to aid her in retrieving her things.
Oh god, please help.
That, of course, didn't go as planned. So Kitty did the actual smart thing and grabbed herself a fresh rock drake named Rescue, because surely he would help her get back on top of the rock. And that Indom sure was looking nice and stuffed. So Kitty took yet another attempt. But his torpor went down way too fast. So eventually, Kitty headed for some sky prezzies and to level up her drake. Although, very sad that she couldn't get her dream dino. so she got a galley instead. Back at home, Kitty tried her luck with a special summoner yet again, this time getting herself a decaying raptor, naming it Skeletor. She knew exactly what she had to do, although she didn't like it. But she needed Hades' favor. In between the ever so long grind, Kitty stumbled upon another Gatita. This made her quite content, and she gave it the name Bakita, because she was for backup.
Saving the best for last, I assume. I, Apollo, have seen you, Kitty, working very hard to become one of us. The question is, do you really believe in yourself? Do you believe you have what it takes? Now that you have spoken with all the council and have heard their duties for you, do you trust yourself to complete them? This will take sacrifice, sorrow, challenge, and above all else, courage. My task for you is simple, yet it may be hard for a mortal to do. Look inside yourself. You have the option to turn back now or continue your journey. Turning back, you will live happily as a human on Earth and needn't worry about the rest of your days. Continuing may bring you heartbreak and failures, but in the end may be the most rewarding and magical feat you have ever accomplished. This opportunity will come only once. These options are your chance to be conscious of what may or will come. Look inside yourself, Kitty, and decide.
Kitty didn't even have to think about that one for any amount of time. She had come this far, and there was nothing stopping her now, no matter what was to come. All she knew was that she better get a move on. But Kitty being Kitty once again, she first had to try for this great snake.
Look, eat my egg, eat my egg, eat it. Eat it!
Kill him. And that went just as well as you could imagine.
Stupid mammoth.
Now she had to get serious, so she really would need an army if she wanted to defeat guardians and bosses. So Kitty attempted something that she had never done before, to tame the mightiest creature of them all. Now, there was two, which was getting her very confused. Unfortunately, Gigas were no match for Kitty at this moment, so she went for this mighty griffin instead, only because it was ever so nicely already at home. But she really needed to learn how to actually trap things. Although it did take her many deaths, and a griffin highly unreachable in the sky to realize this, Kitty's patience finally grew thin. With new determination, Kitty crafted a thing or two to aid her in her progression. No time for silly games now. But just one more distraction wouldn't hurt, would it? Surely she needed a high-level Thyla. It seemed as though some of the gods wanted her to have it and some did not, but Kitty, with sheer luck, got this tat down just before it met its end. Now able to place the most important piece of all, Kitty took a look at exactly what she was in for in the coming days, and as if a sign of hope was sent down from above to not only show Kitty to continue her journey, but also what exactly she was fighting so hard for, so she tamed it. After getting Divine awake and giving her Thyla some privacy, Kitty set out hopeful to get even more teeth. She arrived at the Lightning Wyvern Trench with high hopes of stealing an egg, quickly realizing that this place may be no match for her in rescue. Rushing out in a panic, Kitty let her Drake heal just a tad before attempting to have another look around. It was decided with a quick note that maybe Kitty needed a slightly stronger companion to venture in with. Growing tired of sorting through hundreds, if not thousands of eggs, which she at least got another backup Gatita from, Kitty opened some prezzies and went for the trench once again. This time with a plan, she would use Rescue's magical invisibility to scoop herself an egg. Nervously, she crept in, hoping today the gods would be on her side. She zoomed past all creatures unknowing to her presence and crawled into the lair. Kitty thought she had time to be picky, so she scanned the eggs in each nest. But maybe this wasn't the time, as she was running out of stam fast. She took a quick breath of fresh air and headed back in. There was so many wyverns, and she made a grave mistake. A couple less would do. Realizing pickiness wasn't going to get her anywhere, she distracted the locals and picked up her first egg, only to find it had spoiled. She grabbed yet another and watched that one disappear in her inventory as well. Today, the gods were not on her side. Kitty tried for one more, and sadly, it did the same. Leaving unsatisfied, she finished her day off by creating some chaos of her own. and then heading over to watch a show as Fate was preparing to battle the mighty guardian dodo. He sure seemed to have a lot of creatures set up for just a little dodo. Kitty helped in making the area safe, as surely Skate didn't need any more distractions, and she loved helping. Now it was time for Kitty to see a glimpse of her future, and oh my, was it an intimidating sight to see. But yet another sign at the corner of her eye proved to her she shouldn't be frightened of what was yet to come. How was she going to defeat bosses if even this little dodo was too much for even Skate? She contemplated. All she could do was try, and as the full moon shone brightly on the very dark land, Kitty headed for Moria in hopes to find a gift from Hephaestus. Slinking past the entrance's guard, she entered in as quietly as possible. She did not want to disturb a thing. Passing through a great chamber filled with lava and a hall worthy of only kings, she had a strange feeling she was being watched, judged, perhaps. Nevertheless, she continued deeper into the mines, fighting off creatures that dwelled in there, looking for any sign of a Prezi fit from the gods. With nothing out of the ordinary, Kitty continued her journey back up, and that's when she found a room with a tomb and something that looked very familiar. She jumped down to investigate. Within the structure, she found a note that read,
"The greatest of tools lay before you, forged by yours truly. It has the power to take many shapes, any of which the wielder requires. Use it well in these treacherous mines, and bring this pet for good luck. But be swift and quiet to leave this place. They hide in the shadows, always ready to pounce. The drums. They are coming."
With that, Kitty quickly scooped up her goodies, hearing some very distressing noises coming about. She quickly had a look around, but even her curiosity wasn't getting her mind off of how she should get out of there. Racing with her Drake, she was about to leave, but there was one spot left to explore. Surely she would be safe enough to take a glance. This was a beautiful spot indeed, and Kitty uncautiously went further in. That was a mistake. Dashing back, she quickly found her belongings and decided maybe this time it was best for her to leave. The brightness struck her and she couldn't tell if it was day or night. Her eyes finally adjusting, Kitty went straight for a red gift from the sky. Another gift from the heavens. Surely this will be great. She waited for it to drop and collected the goodies inside, but apparently these gifts came with a price. Heading back once again to do yet another retrieval, she decided she had enough of the mainland for the day, and at home, Kitty set herself to do some boring, mundane tasks, because that's exactly what she needed. During this time, Kitty got her very first mutation. This was now a Christmassy Drake, but a mutation was a mutation, so another mission was down for the books. Now it was time to see if Kitty could find some guardians in her land. Setting off, destroying everything in her way, Kitty came into contact with a few new types of creatures, but unfortunately no guardians. But she did get yet another bulldog. Now, Kitty made a huge mistake on one of her most crucial days and forgot to record, so let's try to break down the events. Skate needed help taming a giga, which Kitty was so keen to do. She headed over to the volcano where he was and tried hard to find him. She also had a great Prezi for him for all his help from previously. While doing so, Kitty forgot how lethal lava could be, and on her rock drake she lightly tapped the lava and died quickly, along with her Drake. She of course rushed back to look for everything in her pocket and maybe quite possibly died 2 more times doing the exact same thing, with a few more deaths during teleporting and searching, and 3 creatures less, clearly of no fault of her own. The gods had put some sort of death wish on her, maybe perhaps because she was actually getting closer to her goal. Now with everything gone, her pocket pets, her tranks, her weapons, even her unicorn chibi, Kitty needed a break. So she opened some gacha crystals, built herself up with what she could, and headed out with a simple task of getting a few more gachas, because she needed all the prezzies she could get. She then set them to mate, because now Kitty was in search for a very, very rare resource that gacha had a very slim chance of producing, and it was needed for the Tree of Life, Gaia leaves. She then went farming in some close-by dams, grabbed some crystal, this time with the correct tool, and sorted some more eggs. Then headed to the swamp. This was one of the last places she wanted to be, but with her garden almost complete, there were some seeds she could get here. Having a look around, she thought maybe it wasn't so bad after all, and clearing out the area, she was able to pick some plant species X seeds in peace. And as a reward, Kitty fought a mighty basilisk, only to remember that their venom damages her as well. So she reconsidered her action. It was now time to take a dip, just a little one, into the place Kitty feared the most. And if all went well, maybe for Poseidon this would count as a vote in her favor. Putting Rainbow Bright in her pocket, she placed her raft on the water, inched slowly to where she needed to be, and broke out Barney. Taking her first dive, Kitty was now more nervous than ever, but where she was going would be worth it in the end. Luckily for her, the gods did not seem to want to interfere, and she was able to swiftly enter her destination with ease. The space cave was one of Kitty's favorite places on Fjordur. She not only came in to bask in its tranquility, but it also had a seed she needed as well. Harvesting these plants for a substantial amount of time would give plant species Z-seeds, but here, Kitty didn't mind the time it took, as she felt peace, with no worry, obstacles, or anything to fear. Once collected, she floated around, eventually leading her back to the entrance of the ocean. Her and Barney set sail one more time, and Kitty headed home to garden some more, opened more prezzies, and sifted through gachas for what they could produce. Now was the time to create her first army. Kitty carefully named and leveled up her fierce battle creatures. As she finished, she rewarded herself with these adorable shoulder wyvern, who she promptly named P. Willie and Grael after her Patreons, and put them away for safekeeping. The time had come, and Kitty was ready for her first guardian battle, who was conveniently roaming at her old base. So she placed creatures on either side of the mountain, not knowing how much she would actually need. Whistling the first batch in anxiously, she hoped for the best, and prepared for the gods to make it her worst. Sitting there watching, she couldn't believe her eyes. Was it really done that quickly? Surely it wasn't always that easy. Putting everyone back in her pocket, she went on the search for more. But is it really a normal day unless Kitty is getting distracted? As you can see, this was reason enough for her to stray from her current mission. The gods were not making it easy. Finally getting it down, she rushed to get fish meat, only to find a tiny companion to match the large. But apparently getting even one more would be like finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And Kitty would need to accept this sooner or later. Defeating the big snake upon her return, she went for a little swim and fed this very dramatic critter. Awake, she named her Little Muffin Spirit and joyfully toted her around the base, soon after leaving the otter in a very safe spot for the rest of its days. Feeling as though she needed to venture somewhere else, Kitty wandered over to Mannheim. For her, it was a pleasant sight to see, so lush and so green. Touring around, she wasn't sure what she would find, but quickly realizing that this place seemed just a tad dangerous, maybe the grass wasn't always greener on the other side. Well, even if it was. Continuing her search for guardians, Kitty stumbled upon a creature she had never seen before, and before she could even second-guess her actions, her fate was decided. Back and as invisible as ever, Kitty snuck to get her stuff, while Rainbow Bright finished the job. And as the quest for more guardians continued, she found herself back on the mainland, which to her pleasant surprise, a guardian turtle was meandering about, clearing out the area and summoning her precious army. She whistled them in, and within a blink of an eye, he was defeated. Kitty was beginning to think something suspicious was going on, but no time to lose, as there was another just down the beach. Easily defeated, Kitty was so proud of her crew, but knowing how distracted she gets when looking on her own, she would now need to complete a mission that she wasn't sure she would have the heart to do. In case you didn't recall, there was a scanner that Kitty could have access to, but Ares was in charge of said device. Unsteadily staring at the structure, Kitty weighed out her options, but knowing how important her end goal was, she needed to find and defeat all guardians. Hands trembling, she broke out one of her most prized creatures. The one who gives gifts must be sacrificed as a gift to the gods. The gacha stomped in protest. Kitty pulled out her gun, weeping. I'm so sorry. Oh, the sounds were so painful. Kitty couldn't believe she had just done that. With her heart breaking, she had no time to waste. She opened the terminal and took note of where the guardians were residing. In the soulless black night, she found a guardian stable close by. She went through the actions of preparing, although she was not yet herself. Defeating this guardian just as quickly as the others, she theorized that the gods were possibly working in her favor. Maybe she was winning them over. So testing her luck, she next aimed for the guardian mantis. He was a little more of a challenge, but her force was nothing to contend with. But needing to drop off some of her loot, Kitty teleported home to take a better look at what she had received. This brought her joy, and she spent the rest of the day organizing and stocking up. Wasting no more time, Kitty now searched for the very mighty, very fierce Guardian Jerboa, having to be very careful as there was a dodo close by, something she never thought she would need to be cautious of. Within seconds, he too was down. Or so she thought. For some reason, this Jerboa and her army came to terms of peace, but Kitty was not having it. She whistled again and he finally went down. And taking advantage of the turtle as well, as Kitty would be needing to fight more than one of each to obtain enough essence of the void to summon bosses. But being too scared of the dodos and Jerboas, she went to search for something a bit less terrifying, which would be none other than the Dragon Guardian, of course. She headed for her target gracefully and eventually got him locked and loaded after many attempts. Realizing this one was going to be a hard reach, Kitty packed up what she could and went to see if she could hopefully get some wyverns to defeat him. Back in the lightning trench, the gods seemed to be toying with her. Everywhere she looked, there was not a single egg to be found. Maybe if she tried a different trench. And since lava was no longer Kitty's vacation spot, she went for the poison trench instead. Swimming in, she tried to stay undetected, but from what she could see, there were no eggs in here either. She wanted to scream at the gods just to please give her a break, and as if they heard her calls, they answered her pleas. At least she was smart enough to bring a sleeping bag. Pummeling the remaining wyverns, Kitty retired this idea back to the drawing board, and while she thought, Kitty spent the day sorting through more and more eggs. Once her plan was developed, she searched for the elusive dragon yet again, literally stumbling upon him. She began to prepare. This was most certainly not overkill. Now, she had to find the slippery beast once more. Kate had decided to stop by to say hello, as well as take a look at Kitty's excessiveness, or maybe to check on her progress for the gods. Finding the dragon yet again, she made the mistake of whistling follow all.
Oh.
But quickly was able to set her target.
Oh, they're going.
They're going. Yeah, go beat them up. Let's go. Let's go check this out. Come on.
The fight was proving to be the most difficult yet.
Yeah, get up.
Uh-oh, we're ascending.
Uh-oh, this is gonna be...
I think there's too much of a ascend here.
Oh, they're hitting him.
And after ascending into the sky, he disappeared into thin air.
Wait, where did he go? He's gone!
Hitching a ride up, Kitty got her birds back and neatly packed them up, probably missing some. To this day, it is said some of her creatures still roam the lands of Fjordur, and you can have a look for yourself too by joining the server. Link to the Discord in the description below for more information on how to join. Off for a little break, Kitty was swooping around when her spyglass locked onto something. A Gaia bunny. This was one of her missions she needed to complete, and this very rare creature would make a great addition to her baby-making area, as this little sweetums produced random Gaia creatures as babies. So in getting this, Kitty could get surprise babies. Best day ever. Once safely detained, Kitty searched for the dragon again. This was proving to be impossible, and now it seemed all her birds were too high up to get. Unfazed, she went home completely over it. But almost as quick as she arrived, she left again as she realized she had prezzies to give to Skate, and he needed her help with something super important. And of course, she was happy to oblige.
Got prezzies. I got a present. Here you go. Higher level than I expected. I don't know if they're good.
Missing her way there with Skate, she tried closely to follow directions.
One in the snow area on the same, like the small island bottom left. I have a teleporter over here.
I don't know where I'm going. I'm somewhere purple. Oh, get me out of here. Get me out of
Where
here.
are you?
Oh my god.
Where'd
Oh
you-
my god. Crab.
Where did
crab.
you go?
Crab. I'm at the green obelisk.
Why are you at the green obelisk?
Because I panicked.
It only took 2 attempts,
So that was terrifying.
so not too bad. And from there, she helped Skate obtain the mighty Giga.
Are you just gonna be here to watch, or you want to help?
This is probably the closest she will ever get to tranking out her own. Kitty sure loved helping, and let it be known that today was the day that Kitty realized how important the summoners she had previously used actually were. But also, how an addiction began, as these prezzies from the gods made it almost impossible to resist. She got a Spino, a Volanosaur, a Megalachon, a Mana. She crafted some more. She got a horse and a turtle that was currently playing hide and seek, a Gacha, a Basilisk, a pleasant surprise of a Capro, a Parasaur, another Gacha, and a dragon. She would have kept going if she had more narcotics, and took some out for test runs. After putting them away secretly and safely, these were now her new pride and joys. She had to collect them all. She also found a random unknown compy in her base, but it seemed to be of no threat, so Kitty deemed Frank the house compy and went about the rest of her day. And today consisted of situating Ruru the Gaia bunny, finding that pesky turtle from earlier in the roof, going on a killing spree, and finding another Reaper she could potentially call her own, if only her shots would count. Finally, she waited from a distance for it to awake and rushed home to quickly forget about it in her pocket, as now she had more important matters to attend to. Readying up, she summoned her most favorite creature of all, the Indom. Sitting at a beautiful level 162, she couldn't believe her eyes. She sat in awe for quite some time, and then continued. Another turtle, a pterodon, another Parasaur, a griffin, and a mammoth. She hopped on Ray and went to town. He was by far one of the most strongest creatures Kitty had ever had. At least one of the gods were truly on her side. Whilst out on her adventure with Ray, she stumbled on a very sleepy creature, which was yet another one of her favorites. The gods certainly were being very nice today. She felt so bad for waking it, but knew it would be safer napping its happy life away in the safety of her kingdom. Excitedly, she took her precious sleepyhead back, and they enjoyed a nice, long, much-needed nap together. Heading over to Vanaland, Kitty spied a guardian dodo, so she set up her army for quite possibly, most definitely, a very bad idea. But first she wanted to try her mini out to see if it could keep up with its purple counterpart. Searching far and wide, she just couldn't seem to find one, so heading back to her rock, she waited until dawn to fight the big bad dodo. You see, this is why the dodo was so terrifying. It was because the other guardians were his minions, which made this battle one of the most difficult. Kitty exhausted all her creatures, but today, failure was her only option. Smugly, the dodo walked away with a third of his health still left. Only one thing could make her forget her woes. A kangaroo, a megalania, a titan boa, a ravager, and a moss chops. Kitty may have a slight problem, naming them all while wondering if she would ever get another Indom, perhaps one she could breed. But surely the gods would never be that kind, or would they? For now, she would need to rebuild her army and open some more prezzies, of course. And for the next few days, Kitty also sorted through gachas, got more narcoberries for her addiction, sifted through more eggs and even more gachas as she was still looking for Gaia leaves, and farmed in her almost complete, cute little garden, starting her day off beautifully by using more summoners, a little otter, another gacha, reaper, an Indom,
Please be, girl.
a Doit, rock drake, a glowtail, demorph, and a Tapia Hera. Now, with her beautiful new Indom that the gods graced Kitty with, she gave them some semi-private time to make her all the babies. And as if that wasn't enough, while sorting through another batch of gachas, they blessed Kitty with not only one.
You get one? Did you get one?
Oh my god, I got one.
Oh, let's go.
Okay. Should I finish checking?
But 2 Gaia leaf producers.
Oh!
You just a second?
Oh!
You got a second?
Yeah!
What?
Yeah!
What are the odds?
Oh my god, today's like a super lucky day.
which now meant Kitty could get her last piece to the garden puzzle, and Skate could have one to help him progress too. Everything was going so well, almost too well. Had Kitty officially won the approval from all the gods? Needless to say, she used up some more of her chances, and then took her newest baby boy out for a ride. Fully imprinted, fully magical. And that damage was more than she could ever have dreamed of. She munched on anything she could for the rest of the night and into the next day. It was now time for the true test. Could Kitty take down a guardian with just one creature? And the answer was yes. Kitty was on top of the world. She could take on anything now. Traveling around the map and killing all guardians in sight, Buddy and Kitty were something to fear. She finally was able to get the dragon, who thankfully was stuck in a tree. And this is when Kitty thought maybe, just maybe, she could take on the fierce Dodo. She went in, but it was really hard to see him chomping at her toes. Yet she continued. All other guardians right on her tail. Clearly, and none of these purple hat wearing dinos could possibly get through her, Buddy. Except this guy. He was the last of the guardians she needed to defeat before she could move on to the big bosses. This would mean she would need even more Indoms. And a little test of luck. Kitty went to fight more guardians with her new army trailing behind her, which was proving to be a tad difficult, but fun nonetheless. With Buddy almost gone and half her army dead, Kitty went home once again to build up even more. More guardians were fought, more armies were built. This time, some Thylas were brought into the pack, because maybe their bleed damage would help. Guardian after guardian was fought until she found him again, the Aether. The gods have been kind to Kitty throughout all of this. Surely she needn't worry about defeating him. She watched on, pleading to the gods to let her have this. She did it! Kitty had officially beaten all guardian bosses. Her battle crew was the best she could ever wish for, with a few casualties, of course. Nothing could stop her now. She needed more. At one point, she was taking on one turtle and two Duroas at once, when two Aethers spawned in. Was Kitty's blessings about to run out? Unfortunately, yes. With her whole army gone, she knew she had to at least attempt one on her own. It was the least she could do. It was now time to prepare. All she had left was to summon the harder bosses now and plant the Tree of Life. It was so pretty. There was 3 classes she would need to defeat, equal to a total of 10. Kitty was scared, but she was determined she could get through them all. First, and hopefully easiest, was the awful bat. At least she won. Kitty's battle plan was simple. Overdo it. Since this would be one of her first, hopefully successful, solo boss runs. And, of course, being strategic by switching out hurt creatures with fresh creatures, so there would be a minimum of casualties. At least she had hoped. She even dressed to impress. And next was the Furious Monkey. Keeping her distance this time. Her beauty took him down with ease. She couldn't help but think, would it be this easy with the rest? Kitty asked the gods with a special drink and received a chronophyla. That must be a good sign. Along with a little extra sip. Now it was time for the infected dodo, who decided to be a cliffhanging dodo. But don't worry, we won't do that here. The fight was intense and also very awkward, and finally they got him down. Maybe? Let's just say it's safe to assume she won. Kitty did have a smart idea and decided it was better to move the terminal more center. With medium bosses as her next goal, she stepped up with the team she needed to bring in. The fearful Yudi stood no chance. A quick, glorious battle. At least her Silas were a good distraction. Stepping it up yet another notch in the twilight of the night, the forsaken Dodorus was her next contender. Red text filled her screen, but that wasn't holding her crew back. Defeated with a last blow and attempt to take anyone else down with it. Kitty couldn't believe how easily she was plowing through these bosses. But she mustn't jinx it. With 5 bosses down and 5 more to go, Kitty contemplated how they will probably only get stronger from here. But first she needed to save the Shinehorns on her field. And back to business. With no clue what she was actually doing, Kitty decided to mix it up with differing creatures in her fight. This was not overdoing it at all. The poisonous lizard had no clue what he was in for. If her creatures decided to fight, that is. Since barely any of them took damage in that strangely easy battle, Kitty gambled herself into doing one more. The Rotten Dragon. And this boy was quick. He had everyone running frantically trying to keep up. It was actually quite funny to watch. But in the end, he exploded into another realm as well, attempting to bring Kitty with him. Not today, sir. Not today. Setting up for yet another battle, Kitty heard a roar behind her.
I challenge you to a duel.
It was Skate, and he brought sad news. He challenged Kitty to a duel. He actually knew there was no way she would be able to kill him. Not only because she didn't have the heart to, because she physically wouldn't win. But at that moment, Kitty had an idea. What if it was a creature versus creature battle? Surely that would do.
Oh, that's definitely more than cute damage. Oh no.
Yeah.
What the hell? What the hell? You're demolishing!
But she stood no chance against his mighty gigas. With a bittersweet feeling, Kitty was almost thrilled to not have to kill her friend, only to find out he had different plans.
Skate! Oh, you're such an...
It is I, Hephaestus. Though you may know me now as Skate, I came down in this mortal body to guide you and teach you of what is to come. You have worked harder than most, and your triumphs shall be rewarded, if you complete your greatest challenge, that is. Yet you see, Athena and I had a plan to show you that even in the realm of the gods, you must be careful. It is not all rainbows and sunshines up here. You must be ready for the challenges ahead. For now, however, we believe you have learned your lesson. And don't worry, you have both Athena and mine's vote. The odds weren't in your favor anyway, going up against God after all.
Wait, so Kitty was fooled this whole time? Those sneaky gods always having little tricks up their sleeves. With a sigh of relief, at least Kitty now only had one more thing to do. Finish the bosses. Now determined but terrified as ever, Kitty was down to her last 3. Starting with the bionic spider boss, and with a slightly larger army she waited. 10 million health. This is truly the scariest thing she has ever fought. With night falling on the battle, They actually had won. She didn't want to get too excited, but she may actually do this. There was only a few days left and only a couple bosses as well, and Kitty was growing tired of setting up for boss fights. Seriously, how do you guys do this? If only there were, like, a mod for that. Finally prepared, she summoned in Siren Head. She had heard rumors that he was quite difficult, so she took no chances. And as if the gods helped him rain down from the heavens, Kitty really wasn't sure she would win this one. Running back, she couldn't find Buddy. Did he die? With no time to waste, she continued the battle from a distance. This was going to be a very close call. Each blast made so much death. Falling into the water, Kitty didn't think she stood a chance. Struggling, she tried to get everyone down into there. She did it! She actually did it! But there was no time for celebration, as the mass graveyard behind her made her weep for all the poor souls she had lost, including Buddy, which she had found his bay, but strangely enough, no saddle. Kitty did the only thing she could do to honor her fallen. She placed gravestones and pledged she would avenge them. Their deaths would not be in vain.
He would. He would alive. Oh.
It was now time to build an army so great that even the gods would be impressed with its size. Kitty saddled and leveled every creature that was gifted to her from summoners. And for her last call of hope, she had a cup of sips, which the gods blessed her with 5 more helpers, and her sign was given to her as bright as day. A unicorn was given to her. This was a good omen, and this would be a great day. She set up her last grand army, also finding Buddy in the mix. He had survived, and Kitty was so thankful. It had come down to all this. Kitty had completed all quests from the gods, and had proven in 100 days that she truly deserved to be voted in as goddess of unicorns and magic. This was her last chance. She knew she could do it. Cardaz the Fearless would fear Kitty and her army. Raining down on her parade, this beast tried all his best shots. The land was now dark. Creatures were fleeing.
Oh god, why is my... No, don't run away, scaredy cat. Oh, okay, we're halfway there. We got this. Oh, we're so cool. Okay. Quarter. Oh no! Oh my! He's a scary boy, isn't he? Barely properly see, but why is my basilisk running? Guys, stop running. Is he like fear roaring now? Oh, we're almost done. Oh god. Oh, we did it. We're totally doing this. We turn this back on. And... Yeah! We did it! That was so easy!
But nothing stood a chance against Kitty and her army. She had beat all Gaia bosses in 100 days and completed all missions from the gods. Kitty had clearly proven that she was worthy of the title Goddess of Unicorns and Magic. And as a congratulatory welcome, Escape, or should we say Hephaestus, celebrated with her by enjoying some creature gamba.
All those in favor of voting Kitty Cat LaPer in from the mortal realms to join us, say aye.
Aye. Well, only if we can give her one more task, of course.
Don't worry, she will have plenty.
Uh-oh. What did I sign up for?